Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. We're here today with Terence and Zion Lester. Terence and Zion are co-authors of a new book titled Zion Learns to See, Opening Our Eyes to Homelessness. Dr. Terence Lester is a minister, speaker, and community activist, author and founder of Beyond Walls, a not-for-profit organization focused on poverty awareness and community mobilization. His campaigns on behalf of the poor, including hashtag Love Sinks In, which provides hand washing stations for the poor, have been featured in many national publications and TV news programs. His books include I See You, When We Stand, and All God's Children. Terence has received numerous awards for his community activism, including from Coca-Cola as one of their history shakers, the Atlanta 500, American Express Next Gen Award, Atlanta Voices 50 Under 50 honor, and the True to Atlanta Award presented by the Atlanta Hawks. Zion is Terence's daughter and plays a prominent role in the new book. She became interested in her dad's work on a Saturday morning when she was 7 years old. Since then, she's grown to become a writer, speaker, and community leader. She has also continued to regularly serve with Love Beyond Walls and encourages others her age and younger to volunteer too. You can learn more about all their work at lovebeyondwalls.org. So congratulations to both of you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first, for either one of you, is there anything else you'd like people to know about you?
I'm 15 years old and we wrote a children's book together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. The book that we'll discuss today is kind of born out of our relationship. So like, you know, a lot of what we talk about is because I don't know. She's she's one of my favorite people.
I can see why. So there's kind of two areas we want to talk about today. First is about your books, Terence. Before we get into the new one, could you please briefly describe the previous ones for folks?
Yeah, I wrote I See You. It released 2019. It's about seeing and affirming the inherent worth and value of our neighbors without an address. When We Stand came out in, oh wow, 2021. And that's all around finding power in community. And, I really talk about how to solve issues. We have to go deeper into community with one another, no matter what issues those may be. And then All God's Children is more of a book really trying to encourage people to stand in solidarity with their Black and brown neighbors who may be in their, social location, or, it may even be something where, you just want to build bridges by understanding the history of people who are Black in this country. And so that's a really personal book in that I wrote it from a space of um, being having the opportunity to pastor in both Black churches and white churches.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are really great topics. And I know we did an interview for at least one of them. I think it was When We Stand
Yeah.
during the pandemic. And, anybody that wants to find that can go to the How to Heal Our Divides website, and it's there. But let's talk about the new book. As I mentioned, the title is Zion Learns to See, Opening Our Eyes to Homelessness. And you might be able to tell from this that it's a children's book. But how did that book come about?
Well,
You want me to tell? Or you got
I
it?
can tell.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like a personal story from me and my dad's. It started in like second grade. Around that time, well, I was serving with my dad, with his organization. I would come to work with him like every day. And I guess I was really inspired by that. So I came up with this idea to raise money with my second grade class to donate
Yeah.
to my dad's organization. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Her and her whole class raised like $52 worth of change, right? And it was around the time our organization, I was actually in the middle of a campaign. I was walking on foot from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way to Washington to bring attention to the cause. And Zion would get these newspaper clippings and take them to the class. And her teacher, instead of like asking her to put it away, she created a discussion around
Hmm.
the topic.
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked the idea of like, I guess for a class, like what can we do for children who may be in this school who may also uh, be experiencing homelessness with their
Hmm.
families? And that's
Hmm.
when, started this campaign. They had the whole school involved
Yeah.
and all of those things. So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very cool. I mean, kids are not too young to learn about, misfortune of folks and how you can help them. So who would you say the book is most intended for?
Um, like I say children, because I feel like when children are like in their like small ages, it really matters the most because they're gonna be the people who are gonna be impacting, making a difference in our world. So I think it's really important to like teach them while they're young and kind of like allow them to grow those values as they grow. So
That was well spoken right there.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, as she said, I think we wrote it with children in mind because has always been, and my son, TJ, they've always just been like really compassionate kids. And we would have other parents ask like, what do you all do? And it's like, it's not necessarily what we were doing, is how we were living. So
Mhm.
like
Hmm.
the service and compassion and just like being in the community and making sure that people were taken care of and supported and all those things. I think by them watching that gave them, the freedom to say, I too want to be generous. I too want to be compassionate. I too want to serve. And that's kind of like, would you say? I don't know. Is that how you learn?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you guys are great, role models, for people to follow. Homelessness is one of those things a lot of people don't want to talk about, or they're afraid of it, or afraid of the people, or whatever. And so, kind of humanizing that and I don't say normalizing that. That's not the right term, but familiarizing people with the issues and how they can help is really an important thing. So Zion, what was it like for you to write the book? What was that experience like for you?
It was a it was amazing. Amazing experience. From the moment I first brought it up to my dad that this was what I wanted to do and we made it happen and like the process making it was very long, but it
Yeah.
was very long, but we made it and I'm so glad to see like the outcome of it and see other people enjoy this book and being inspired as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I recorded some videos of me and her in our kitchen, and I had showed her this children's book she wrote when she was in the second grade. Like she illustrated
Yeah.
it, and she
Hmm.
used to always tell me like, one day I'm gonna write a children's book. And
Yeah.
I like whipped it out and I showed it to her, and it was about our dog. We had a dog named Cooper, but just from seeing what she was talking about then and then being able to like co-author a children's book about our real relationship and the things that we do in the community, it's just been like a full circle moment.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So Terrence, what would you say the state of homelessness is like in Atlanta these days?
Yeah. I think it's growing. And I think that the city is trying to implement all types of solutions, but I don't think we are keeping up with the rate in
Mm,
which people are becoming unhoused. You
wow.
um, there political scientists or sociologists would say there are two mass homelessness eras, which, happens around the Great Depression, and then the second, which is the contemporary era of mass homelessness around the 70s, 80s, right? That would be more defined as chronic homelessness, the things that we see in terms of people not having any type of housing and or living on the streets in tents and encampments, etc. But when I was doing my research for my PhD, I realized that we're on the cusp of what I would consider a third
Mm,
mass crisis era, which is the era of, unaffordability. And we've seen this with inflation and people not being able to keep up with, um, you know, their places. You got rising uh, costs in housing, but you don't have rising costs in the type of income that people are bringing in, and that gap creates what we would consider the unaffordability gap, right, or inaffordability gap, where people can't afford to actually purchase and and live in homes, and you miss a check, and you're calling organizations like ours or others and trying to figure out how to subsidize rent or find somewhere else to dwell or stay.
mm, mm.
And we've seen an increase in that.
Have you really? Wow. Well, the cost of housing really has gotten ridiculous. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't think anybody has a good answer for it these days, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So Zion, you've now worked at Love Beyond Walls for several years. Kind of how has that changed for you in terms of your experience and what you do there?
Well, I feel like it's really opened my eyes to just see other people despite like what situation they might be in and not kind of like the saying, not judging a book by its cover. Just getting to know people and hear their stories and treating people like they're humans, not dehumanizing people just because they're living on the streets.
Hmm. Hmm. How has the organization changed, Terrence,
Says,
over the
don't
years?
It says don't dehumanize people just because they live on the streets. That was powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, I think organizations change all the time. I would say, at the core, we've been around a decade. We just made a decade last month or 2 months ago. And we celebrated the fact that we've been able to mobilize, tens of thousands of people locally and nationally, all of the unique campaigns. I don't think much has changed. I think what has changed the most is we've outgrown
Mm,
uh, our center, and we are starting to get more people come to our center who are actually in need. And so, if anything, I think we would have to grow into
mm,
the fit and the direction in which we're headed
mm,
because of the need. Yeah.
hmm, hmm. So, Zion, I know you encourage other young people to, volunteer there and get involved. What kind of reception do you typically get when you're doing that?
Um, hmm. Can you repeat the question one more time for
Just
me?
wondering, like, you encourage young people, to get involved, either with, Love Beyond Walls or, other things to help homeless people. I'm just wondering what kind of reaction you get from the other kids.
Um, I feel like I mostly get good reactions from that. I mostly feel as if, well, the people that I've heard from are already like helping people and like doing stuff like that, like serving in organizations and kind of like volunteering like with groups and stuff like that. But um usually it's a good response to things like that. I mean, I haven't received anything negative.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. Surprising. I mean, honestly, I mean, but good to know. I guess it's not until we get older that we get more jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's we always have a lot of younger people
Yeah.
volunteering,
Hmm,
Right. Yeah.
and I think it's oftentimes a great opportunity for parents to connect with their kids when they're coming out to serve at different projects or events that we have going on. So that has been really positive. And to see Zion interact and engage with other kids who are actually volunteering has been also very positive.
Mhm.
hmm, hmm. So I'd like to switch gears if we could now and talk a little bit about the topic of finding your next calling. Um, Terrence, you've been an entrepreneur and author for several years now. What led you to go off on your own and start Love Beyond Walls and to start writing books?
Uh, I don't, I was actually just giving a lecture, uh, in conjunction with a university here in the city. And then it turned to more of an interview style. And this particular question came up. And I think my response was one, wanting to have the freedom to be creative. Um, that's really essential because a lot of the things that we have dreamed about in the context of our organization has been centered around storytelling and creativity. It takes creativity and storytelling to humanize someone
Hmm,
in a way that is receptive on the behalf of someone who may not pay unhoused folks any attention, right? And so it takes a great deal of creativity. I think too, realizing my own story and understanding all of the life experiences that I've had and how that has shaped me and kind of fashioned my voice in a way where I can speak directly to issues like this and wanting to lean into that. I think, that's a process within itself. Whenever you're discovering any type of calling, it's like, it's more self-discovering and like trying to figure out how God has created me and how is God going to uniquely use all of these life experiences to speak or be used in an impactful way towards something specific. And I think realizing that within myself, um, and stepping out on faith obviously became one of the things that I just wanted to do. I wanted to serve God in a way where I could use my voice to bring glory to the work that He has called me to do.
hmm,
And writing is just you know, doing this type of work, you get a chance to encounter so many stories, and then you realize you have a story of your own that is being written, and you want to capture that because, life is limited, right? And so at some point, we all have an expiration date, and I think writing really in many ways immortalizes your voice where a body of work itself can live beyond your fragile human existence while you're here on earth. And so like writing to me is about creating a legacy. Yeah.
hmm, hmm. So let's talk about discernment a little bit.
Yeah.
What have you learned through all of that? What are some, processes that you go to or people or reference materials or other that's been helpful for you in the process of discernment?
Yeah, I think discernment for me is more about um one, it's more intuitive, right? Where you get this like inner intuition as to like what it is that you're supposed to do, or something that really just like it's always at the top of your mind or top of your heart type of thing. And then for me, the second thing, I normally don't go to like a book or anything. I start to ask my community. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is like trusted mentors and friends. I'll start to like, just talk about these things that I'm feeling. And what I'm really looking for is not just validation, but for them to tell me things that they see in me that align with that, right? And a third thing is once I discern and I kind of go to my community and I have these conversations, then I start asking questions. Like I find people who are already in the field or mentors or other friends, and I start asking really specific questions about, steps to take, things to look for in terms of resources, etc. And then the fourth thing is I remain open, right?
Mm.
What I mean by that is I'm open to listen to the ways in which God will give confirmation, whether it's through a text message or a passage or a book or whatever it is. And then out of that, I am kind of moved to get active because I think, discernment is one thing, but the activity itself will actually let you know whether what you're discerning is something you actually like and will enjoy.
Where
And
the
so,
rubber meets the road, right?
yeah, I got to get active. And um, I think that activity gives the greatest confirmation because you'll find such a peace and a joy and even more passion when you actually show up and get active in it. And that's how it has happened for me. Yeah.
That's excellent advice. Some of the same kinds of things that I, suggest to people, particularly the part about hearing from other people,
Yeah.
generating ideas or getting feedback on your ideas. That's
Yeah.
so crucial.
Yeah. I mean, it's important, right? Like I can't sing, right? And if I thought that was my calling and I got my friends together and did karaoke and everybody walks out of the room in concert, it's yeah. So, and it's not to be brash because everybody obviously, you know, make a joyful noise, but I'm talking about where your gifting actually meets the need
hmm
to,
hmm
use your gift for.
So what advice do you have for somebody that's just getting started, considering going off on their own to do some crazy things?
Yeah, I don't I don't necessarily ever think that I'm alone in doing innovative type of things. I always have a community of peers and colleagues that I can bounce ideas off of, but also who are in full support as I take the leaps of faith. And I think that is crucial to anything. I started this idea from scratch and it's impacted people, but I still have conversations with the people that I was having conversations with when I first started, like my brother Broderick, Reverend Broderick Santiago. He reminded me of a time when I was dreaming about Love Beyond Walls. We were sitting at a Starbucks and I was writing that I showed him the ideas on like a napkin. You see, and it's like he's still cheering and rooting me on even to this day. And I can name countless other people. And so I call it wise courage.
Mm, mm,
Uh, it's okay to be courageous and try new things, but make sure you build a community around you that when you actually do try the new thing, you have a support group and a support system that will continue to fan the flames of compassion that you feel in your heart as you try the hard thing because it will be difficult.
mm, mm. So Zion, how about you? Do you see yourself, kind of following in your dad's footsteps, or do you think you'll have some other type of route that you'll take?
Yeah, definitely. I do see myself following in his footsteps, maybe one day taking over the organization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Good for you. He's not ready to be booted out yet, though, I don't
She's trying to make me retire.
think. So I know you're in the middle of a book launch, but Terrence, do you have plans for anything coming up next, whether it's a book or other kind of project later on?
Yeah, I'm really excited. We have our copy too. So,
Yay.
um, but we're gonna start building closets and um, schools to give kids access to clothing if their families can't
Mhm.
like afford clothes or wash clothes.
Hmm.
We actually have a school that we're partnering with really soon. Actually, in April, we're going to build our first closet. It's called Zion's Closet, right?
Oh, neat.
And the idea behind it is for it to become a community closet for students to have access to resources. And we're working with school counselors, community liaisons, and like a school system for that. Um,
Cool.
we we just we just got donated some land,
Hmm.
which I'm really excited because it's going to give us an opportunity to continue to build some of the things that we are envisioning with like our Dignity Museum, etc., housing. And yeah, I just signed another contract to work on more of a book about my story.
Hmm.
From it's called the working title is From Dropout to Doctorate, right? And talking about like um my journey of how I overcame a lot of my challenges and things like that. So
Wow. Wow. Very cool. Well, when you have that ready, let me know. We'll do an interview to talk about that specifically
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Well, thanks so much for all you guys have done and, for joining us to talk about it a little bit and share, the book. As I mentioned, it's Zion Learns to See, Opening Our Eyes to Homelessness. It's coming out from IVP Kids, which
yep,
is a relatively new imprint that we've done some interviews with the folks that started that not too long ago. And please go to lovebeyondwalls.org and see all the wonderful work that Terrence and Zion are doing.
yep.
So thanks
Awesome.
again, you guys. Great work and love hearing about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.